All right, so Shalom, all praises, honor, and glory going to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of great millstones. Salutations to all you Akim. That's out there pushing this truth with all honesty and sincerity by way of the highways, byways, going on the streets teaching and preaching. And also, Shalom to you very few Aquaf that's out there listening and learning, going back to the names Yahweh, being the Heavenly Father name, which means He is or He exists, Bahashem, which means coming in the name. And what the world ignorantly calls JC or Jesus Christ, his name is not JC or Jesus Christ. It's not Jesus Christos. It's not Yeshaya. It's not Hashem. It's not Ashaya. Yeshaya is not none of that. All right. His name is Yahweh Shai. Okay. Which means he saves or he delivers. All right. So he is the savior or he is the deliverer. You so called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites who he's coming back to get. Uh, now, all right, of the elect, that is. All right. 2/3, y'all got to go. Um, It's your brother Nayap, and I'm back with another lesson. This one about to be real fast. I just want to read over these two articles. Like what I said the last for like I don't know, the spirit been on me to be looking into Palantir. The next thing I'm gonna do is probably like Nvidia. Well, Nvidia has something to do with this, I think, but I'm gonna be looking up uh like Oracle and stuff like that. And like I'm gonna start like doing like deep dives in it and stuff. But I want to read this. This is Second Ezra 15:1. It says, "Behold," right? Give me 2 seconds. That was a little loud. All right, all right. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shah will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, death, famine, and destruction. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." And Edomites is going crazy right now. It says, "Therefore, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shah will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness." All right. Now, when you scroll down, um, Second Ezra 15:14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." Right? It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hand. All right, for there shall be sedition among men." All right. Now, this word sedition, let's just go into it a little bit. Um, I might be able to get it on here too, but I'll do it on here. So let's type in sedition. Okay. Sedition in enticement of resistance or insurgent against lawful authority. Okay. I'm trying to see if they got some synonyms. Okay, treason. All right, they got treason, revolt, uprising, a rebellion. All right, and that's what's going on with people. People are rebelling. It says, "Among men and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." All right. Now, these times that we in is getting very serious. Let me get this scripture. Yeah, let me get this. This is Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. All right, it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in their power of their is in the power of their hand." All right, in the AMP it says, "Woe, judgment is coming to those who devise wickedness and plot evil on their beds." All right, when morning comes, they practice evil because it is power in their hands. Now, what I'm about to go to may be a little sensitive for you, but we're gonna go to it. We are going to be talking about concentration camps. Okay. I'm not gonna make this lesson real long. I just wanted to read these couple of articles and just show y'all what I mean because ever since ICE, y'all already know they've been locking up a lot of our people, and a lot of our people, I keep seeing it get reposted on TikTok. The so-called Northern Tribe, right? Which make up, GAD, like the Native Americans, Mexicans, so-called Native Americans, so-called Mexicans, so-called Puerto Ricans, so-called Dominicans, so-called Cubans, so-called Colombians, all right, so-called Brazilians, talking about them. They've been locking them up a lot, right, putting them in there and getting them pregnant. But it's not even that they're getting the women pregnant; they're getting little girls pregnant, right? And if you want to go look it up, just type it in on TikTok. Just type in ICE pregnant on TikTok, because then they probably gonna be like, oh yeah, ICE is getting people pregnant in these concentration camps. So this article is by Peter Pearl the third. They say Jensen Huang, right? Jensen Huang. It says just told every utility CEO they're overbuilding the grid for the wrong customer. All right, so this has to do with the grid. Okay, so listen to this, and then we're gonna get into a little bit about the concentration camps. I think this is a little bit different, but I think it might tie into it. But it says Jensen Huang, right? There's two articles. All right, it says on the Lex Ferdman podcast, and says something that should be required listening for every utility executive, grid operator, and data center contract negotiator in the country. I'm uh, paraphrasing. It says, but the core message was this: the the rigid demand for six nines reliability in data center power contracts is creating artificial scarcity of the grid, and Nvidia can engineer its way out of it. Right. So it says here what this is what the dude Jensen had laid out. It says the U.S. power grid is designed for the worst case conditions, a few extreme days in winter or summer. The rest of the time, call it 99% of the year, the grid is running a roughly 60% of peak capacity. That's an enormous amount of idle power just sitting there. It says, but because data center operators demand near perfect uptime, land because the contract negotiators at the hyperscalers and cloud providers are locked in a race to secure the most bulletproof SLAs, utilities are being forced to guarantee protection, right? It says that means building above their ex, uh, existing maximum, not utilizing their existing excess, right? So it's going into the grid, right? But it says just in diagnosis sharp, and I think he's exactly right. This is a three-way problem. First, the end customer. It says the enterprises buys the buying cloud compute are demanding perfection from their CSPs, right? Without understanding that the costs at the grid level. It says second, the data centers themselves aren't uh, designed to gratefully upgrade. And third, utilities aren't offering tired uh, power products that reflect the reality of grid availability. Everyone's optimizing for the wrong thing. It says, but here's the part that made me sit up. It says, Jensen said something I've been thinking about from the developer seat for the past year. And quote, it says, I just went to use the excess. It's just sitting there. He's not asking for the new generation. He's asking for access to what already exists. It says the headrooms that's stranded by the rigid contracting and outdated reliability frameworks. And he set a future. He said CEOs of the hyperscalers, the ones signing these multi-year cloud contracts, probably don't even know what their procurement teams are demanding from utilities. All right, and remember what we was talking about earlier with these power grids and stuff, right? How they're sucking up all the aquifers out of the earth and stuff, right? So a lot of this, all right, because they're trying to make this a big thing, you know, they're trying to make this a big thing. So that was one story I want to get into, just to add on top of that from earlier. Now let me get this one, because this one is about the concentration camps. But yeah, man, they doing a lot, and they gonna start chipping them niggas that's inside these concentration camps. All right, if you not like, you ain't trying to join the war, they gonna put you in here like JFK just said that all young black people are has ADD and has anger problems, so they need to send them to re basically rehab centers, basically like free work labor camps because they have ADD. They said black people got ADD more than everybody. Nigga, wow. He talking about, and then he goes back on his word and say, I didn't say that, but then there's actually a recording of him saying it. It says American concentration camps. One of the regimes starts to send people to concentration camps, including those in El Salvador. It creates a system of detention that issues due process and eschews due process and disappears citizens into black holes. Nigga, that right there should have had you like, whoa. Even though this was April 2025, I think it's still, pretty good to go into, because reading up on this, and you can only imagine a year later, right? It says our offshore, which we kind of knew about it, but I found a different article on it. It says our offshore concentration camps for now are in El Salvador and Guatemala, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and you see what's going down there in Cuba, all right? Um, what was that? All right, you seen what was going down there in Cuba. Now in Cuba, they going through a blackout. Trump saying he can just go down there and take it. It just is what it is. Like we can just put some white people down there and then just lock up all these niggas, put them in concentration camps, or put them into concentration camps. It's like you can, because what they doing to the homeless people is they taking them and put them in concentration camps, or they taking them and saying that they're going to a concentration camp, but they actually going to a fucking meat packing place and getting chewed up and spit out into burgers. So we know what's good. We know what's going on. This is a corrupt, evil, wicked ass world, right? And we know that they've been doing this to the Northern Kingdom, and next they're trying to come for us. But nigga, that shit ain't gonna work. It says, but don't expect them to remain there. It says once they, because they gonna come for us. It says once they are normalized, right? It says not only U.S. Department immigrants and residents, but U.S. citizens, they will migrate to their homeland. It is very short leap from our prisons already rife with abuse and mistreatment to concentration camps. Now, when I click on this concentration camps, yeah, uh, I can exit Gen because I just put the concentration camps in the description. It says Human Rights Watch Declaration on Prison conditions in El Salvador, right? Because it leads to like this story. I'll show y'all. So it says um Juanita, all right, go all right, Juanita Gobertas. It says declare the following under 28 U point USC. Okay, state under uh penalty of jury perjurious is the following is true and correct of the best of the best of my knowledge and belief. Okay. It says, I am director of the Americas Division of Human Rights Watch. It says, and have worked with the organization since 2022. It says, I hold BAs in law and political science from uh, Univers- University uh, de los Andes, Colombia, or Andes. Right? It says, and and LLM from Harvard Law School. I oversee Human Rights Watch work on El Salvador and have traveled on the country several times. Most recently, in 2024, I provided a declaration based on my personal knowledge and experience. And now this is what he's saying. Individuals deported uh, pursuant on the 1789 Alien Enemies Act have been sent to the Center for Terrorism. What is the NSP 7? So let's read it. See, this is why the NS, the NS, the NS, the NSPM-7 is linking up with these T-word acts, and they're saying that RFK just came out and said that so-called black young black men have a lot of ADD and they're violent. So they're like the T word. He's talking about sending these people to these work camp places. Dude, you can't tell me that all this don't tie in with the data centers too. Let's just get it. And this is a PDF. This was signed in 2025. This came out. See, it says Section 1 domestic terrorism. It says and organized political violence, right? But it's going on the aftermath. It says heinous assassinations and other acts of political violence in the United States have dramatically increased in recent years. Even in the oh, wow, it says even in the aftermath of the horrifying assassination of CK, some individuals who adhere to the alleged Pure's ideology embrace and cheered this evil murder or smurder. So they going off of this, but I'm gonna show you what the list look like. So I'm more interested into like the list because I got the list on my phone, right? Let me see. I might have a different one. Let me see what this one say. They not like I just want the paper. You feel me? Let's see what Wikipedia say. I know Wiki ain't Wiki wicked. My bad, y'all. I'm just trying to find it. I was just trying to see the picture. They ain't trying to give me like the picture, just like what it say. Is this it? Nope, that ain't it. Oh, hold on. This might be. I just want to see what happens if I click on that. If not, I can get it on here though. I'll try to start getting it on here. And then I'll just read it out to y'all. Yeah, they don't have like a what you call it. Hold on. Just give me 2 seconds. All right, because all this shit link in with each other. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Things getting real out here, man. Day by day. You know, it just getting more and more real. Trying to see where that bad boy at though. It was a white boy talking about it. Is this it? I think the time to shift bricks has come. Yep. FBI's new political pre-crime center. Exclusive FBI's. Let me try to type in this. Give me 2 seconds, y'all. I'm gonna see if I can just type this in right quick. I'll see what they'll give me after that. That's crazy. The one dude actually looked like, okay, I think this is it. Lord willing, it is. Because I want to bring it up so y'all can actually see it. If I knew I was going to this, I would have already pulled it up for y'all. Yeah, they ain't giving it to me. Let me try a different link. Here we go. This the actual title. That last one wasn't the title. I just clicked on whatever I seen. This should be it though. Oh, it's the same thing. Well, I'm gonna read it out because they don't look like they even like trying to go over it for y'all. So I'm just gonna read it out. So basically, I'm gonna tell you what it is. Domestic terrorism indicators. Let me show you the list right now. So basically, if you hold any of these in your political ideologies, you're on notice courtesy of the FBI. Anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the U.S. government, extremism on migration, race, gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. I got two things to say about this right here. So, and all that ties in with that. So, when you out there teaching and preaching, right? They can try to call you something like, so it's getting to them times. All right. It's getting to them times. Now, anyway, let's go back to the article. All right. And matter of fact, let me go back to the scriptures. All right. Because we got that. I actually want to repost that too. So I can always have that. It's Micah 2:1. Again, it says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because then it's in the power of their hand. They covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Okay, and that's what they've been doing. It says individuals deported, right? Let's go down a little bit. It says the prison was first announced for capacity of 20,000 detainees. The Salvadorian um, government labor doubled its reported capacity to 40,000, as Human Rights Watch explained to the UN Human Rights Committee in July 2024. The population size raises concerns that person authorities will not be able to provide individual treatment to detainees, thereby um, uh, contra- uh, contravening the UN standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners. Right? Another thing, this is the third thing he said, people held in CCOT as well as in other prisons in El Salvador are denied communication with their relatives and lawmakers and only appear before courts online hearings. You're never, bro, when they take you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and like the one place I think that they trying to take you so-called niggas is they trying to take you to Italy. All right, and what's crazy is I know some brothers who teach and preach out there in Italy, right? But it's like a jail. It's free labor. It's a free labor camp. It's often in groups of several. And matter of fact, we can really just look it up because I don't want y'all to be like, "Oh, this nigga lying." I'm not lying, bro. The fuck do I gotta lie for? Hold on.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says every black child is on Adderall or some sort of SSRIs, and he wants to send them to a wellness camp where they can be reparented. I said every. Every black kid is now just standard put on Adderall. Every black kid is now just standard put. Every black kid is now just stand. Every black kid on SSRIs, which are known to induce violence, and those kids are going to have a chance to go somewhere and get reparented, to live in a community where there'll be no cell phones, no screens. You'll actually have to talk to people. And the basis, the model for this is a community that I had direct contact with because a family member of mine went there, and it's called San Padriganos in.
He says called San Pandradanos, right? We can go look it up. I told you I'm not lying. All right, but this is where they're trying to take us. All right, now I'm gonna let it play for a little.
In Italy, San Patrignanos. It's the model of addiction treatment. See, this article was written by Deborah Becker, and she goes on to talk about a man named Paolo Severi. And he has spent his whole life trying to expose this place. Uh, well, what they do here is this is an addiction place. It's the number one addiction place in Italy. Well, a lot of prisoners get sent here and they have to work for free. You see this guy right here? He's doing this for free. So this is just a free labor camp that they use to model as an addiction treatment center. The idea of this is great, but you can't have people go there and work for free.
And I'll really just leave it off of that. All right, look, it says Sam. We can just read this part. We ain't even got to go into like the whole thing. We can, but we not about to. It says Sam Petrodano Organo is uniquely addiction treatment community located right in Italy, Emilia Ramna right region. It says founded in 1778 by Vince, right? It says the community has grown into the one of Europe's largest and most closely watched addiction recovery programs, serving over 26,000. It says the model does not center over medication or weekly therapy sessions, but instead work community and slow, deliberate business of rebuilding a life by working for free. It's crazy. Residents are involved in various enterprises, including uh bakeries, vineyards, winery, and hospital hand. And see, they make it sound good. Hand weaving workshops and cheese making operation. The community emphasizes social entrepreneurship and the importance of sense of a sense of purpose. Why would you have a sense of purpose being in captivity, which is often lacking in traditional addiction treatment centers? All right, so that's just giving you a little bit of something. So let's go back. Okay, where we at in this one? Human rights detainees who raise the prison says the government of El Salvador denies human rights groups access to prisons and has allowed journalists and social media influencers to visit Seacock under highly controlled circumstances, and videos produced during the visits. Salvadorian authorities are seen saying that prisoners only leave the cell for 30 minutes a day, and that some are held in solitary confinement cells with which are completely dark, which mold can grow, and it's wet and it's moist. If you get a sore, you're fucked, man. You're down there on the fucking got the plague or some shit. It says while Seacon is likely to have more modern technology and infrastructure than the other prisons in El Salvador, I understand the mistreatment of detainees there to be in large part similar to what Human Rights Watch has documented in other prisons in El Salvador, including uh, Azalco, La Esperanza, Marina, Marina, I think. All right. It says in Santa Ana prisons. It says this includes cases of torture, ill treatment. All right. So let's go back to Micah 2. This is Micah 2, verse 3. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, against the family do I devise an evil from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye be haughty for this time of is evil. In that day shall one take up a parable against you and lament with a doleful lamentation and say, we be utterly spoiled. He have changed the portion of my people. How have he removed it from me, turning away? He have divided our fields. All right. Matter of fact, let me get this. Hold on. I just want to go back to up to verse 2, right? Verse 2 again. Micah 2 and 2, it says, and they cover fields and take them by. Matter of fact, we can read it in the AMP. They covet fields, Michael 2 and 2 in the AMP. They covet fields and seize them and houses and take them away. They oppress and rob a man and his house and a man and his inheritance. All right. They saying that they are the Israelites nowadays and everything. Right. It says this includes cases of torture, ill treatment, in command communiendo, right? No communication. Detention. It says serve violations of due process and inhumane conditions such as lack of access to adequate health care and food. You're not getting treated at all, nigga. And it just goes further in, you know, due process. Man, you can just read about it. And like I said, I'll put this link because look how long this stuff is, man. Look, this is number 9. It says the construction worker said the cell he was imprisoned in was so crowded that detainees had to sleep on the floor or standing, a description often repeated by people who have been imprisoned in El Salvador. It's the same thing that's going on in all these concentration camps. And what they're doing is they're buying they're buying like these warehouses, and they put them off and make it look discreet, but they already bought. And what's happening is in the inside, they're building them up so then they can be new concentration camps. Okay. This place, America, is full of concentration camps and data centers. All right. Because that's how they want you. All right. So let's continue, going back to the American, thing. It says where those held are cut off from the outside world, disappear, denied legal representation, and crammed into feeded overcrowded cells. And we just read that, right? It says prisoners in the camps in El Salvador are forced to sleep on the floor in the solitary confinement in the dark. Many suffer from tuberculosis, fungal infections, scabies, severe malnutrition, and chronic digestive illness. The inmates including over 3,000 children, are fed rancid food. They endure beatings. They beating children, bro. They are tortured. They're torturing children, including by waterboarding, or being forced naked in barrels of ice cold water, according to Human Rights Watch. In 2023, the State Department described imprisonment a life threatening, and that was before the Salvadorian government declared a state of exception. In March 2022, the situation has been greatly exacerbated, right? It says the State Department notes by the addition of 72,000 detainees under the state of exception, some 375 people have died in the camp since the state exception was established. I'm pretty sure it's way over that. I'm thinking, dude, we're talking about thousands. They talking about 375. It says part of El Salvador, especially now, as part of El Salvador president, right? This nigga, Naive, that nigga sound like a fake J. War on gangs. That don't even sound like no whatever. It's well, I have to look it up. It says war on gangs according to the local human rights group, right? It says these camps. It says the Centro de Confinamiento del Terrorismo, Center for Terrorism. It says confinement, known as CCOT, to which U.S. all right deportees are being sent, holds some 40,000, are the model and harbinger of what awaits us. All right. And it ain't gonna be putting no Edomites in there. It's gonna be niggas in there. It says metal worker and union, just like what I see in my dreams every night. Metal worker and union member could look like a Walmart. Metal worker and union member Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was abducted in front of his 5-year-old son, right? On March 12, 2025, was accused of being a gang member and sent to El Salvador. The Supreme Court, you remember him? Remember, he was like short, like kind of like Mexican dude, but he was getting out. But then they sent this nigga to like Ghana. The fuck? It said the Supreme Court agreed this with district. I haven't even heard about Abrego Garcia in a minute. I haven't even heard about him in a minute. I want to know how he doing. You know, he probably on YouTube. He probably got some stories. It says, or he probably can't talk about it because of legal problems. It say District Judge Paloma Zeniz, who found Garcia's deportation was an illegal act. DJT's official blamed their deportation of Garcia of an administration error. All right, so I just wanted to read y'all this, man, because just to let y'all know, man, it ain't sweet out here. You know, I'm gonna leave y'all off with this Micah 2:10. I'm gonna get off. You know, I wasn't even trying to go this long. All right, this is Micah. This is Micah 2:10. It says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction." And you can't depend on Esau or Edom, man. You know, in these times. All right, you can't even depend on the police in these times because they looking for you and throwing homeless people in the fucking meat packets and thing. I just heard a black girl. She went into a fucking McDonald's bathroom. Said she just woke up and she was in a fucking back of a truck when the police found her. So, and these days it's evil. So, with that, I don't give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shabbat Shem Kakadash. Lord willing, this was edifying. I put the links inside the description. I put Jay Sing inside there too, or Yuan Sing, Wang Sang, wherever that nigga name is. All right, so till next time, Shalom.